So a very important conversation is the conversation of the four types of ethnic minorities. Now, there's a lot of variation among ethnic minorities, but these four are really critical for us to understand what's holding back the fourth one. Okay? So I'm going to try to elaborate more on this later in the live. All right? Slow down a little bit. I want to elaborate on this more on the live later. Hey, Mamba. Hold on. So what I'm going to do is tell you about the four types. So the four types, let's call them Jewish Americans, right? One of the first types is the Jewish American. The Jewish American has finances, has economics on their side. Now, this is not a foolproof plan, but they also have cooperative economics. They have a belief system in being, superior, like a superiority complex. And for this, they do infiltrate or access higher levels of government in the state that they're in, like America, right? They get into positions of influence, and they use their resources, and they use their philosophy of superiority, right? I'm trying to keep my eye on my boys, but they use their philosophy of superiority in order to, dominate in the country, which is good. That's one of the types of minorities you can do. The second type of minority, and again, I want you guys to remember, we're going to revisit this in a live later, right? So just subscribe, like, and share. But the second type of minority would be the Afrikaner in South Africa. Now, these people also have an abundance of resources. They have an abundance of weaponry. Don't forget that at one point, this group was able to acquire nuclear weapons, right? And remember, don't run across the street. I gotta tell these boys. But again, the most important thing about these people, though, is that they were able to get their own diplomatic, their own political protections in their constitution, and they have a history in the administration and government of their state, right? So that's another type of ethnic minority. Now, the third type would be the Chinese American. Okay, the Chinese American don't necessarily have a history in the state, don't necessarily have inside of America a financial leg up, a financial advantage. However, what they do have is a powerful nation behind them. Okay, they have a very powerful nation. Mahaba. They have a very powerful nation behind them, and of course, that nation is China. So that's another type of ethnicity you want to be. So you have the three types. One focuses on economics, and they kind of get into cultural. Supremacy in a sense, right? Or cultural influence. You have another one that has economics too, and they have political influence. And you have another one that doesn't necessarily have economics per se, but they have a powerful nation behind them. So a really powerful political backing, really, really powerful, right? And then you have the fourth type, and that's the African American. Okay, the fourth type of ethnic minority. And the reality is this: when you look at it on paper, because you want to say, hey, why don't we do like why don't the African American do like the Jews? Why don't they do like the Chinese? Why don't they do like the South African, right? And you say to yourself, well, do they have a history in dominating the government? Do they have real political protections that they wrote and secure for themselves? Do they have the weaponry? Do they have the armaments? Do they have the economics? Do they have the finance? Do they have powerful political state backing them, right? No. And because of that, they're at a loss. And really the lesson is, when you review everything, right? The lesson when you review everything is, do not be that kind of minority. Do not be that kind of ethnic minority. And for that reason, I'm gonna I have to end it there because My boys are, not crossing the street well. But but what I'm really trying to stress for you guys is you have to look at these different types. So what we're going to do is we're going to revisit it in the future. We're going to revisit this conversation in the future. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. But realistically, if you want to be successful, you have to be a successful type of minority, and you also have to realize what kind of success can you get as a minority, especially without economics or a powerful state.